Guys, today I want to show you all how I throw my 10-foot cast net. This technique will work on an 8-foot and up. Anything smaller than 8 foot, I wouldn't recommend it. When I first started learning how to throw these bigger nets, I struggled for a while on finding a technique where they would open consistently and finding a technique where I wouldn't be wore out after throwing the net 2 or 3 times. So once I found this technique, it didn't take me but just a few tries to start getting the net to open up consistently every time. And I can throw this net all day long without my arm getting tired. This is a Betts mullet net. It's 1.3 pounds per foot. So it's got some weight to it. That's the biggest advantage to using this technique is you can throw these big heavy nets. It doesn't take a lot of strength to get them out and get them open. And I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about different types of nets that I use and different nets for different applications. But I want to show y'all how to throw the net first because I know a lot of you guys already have your net and you just want to know how to throw it. So if you want to stick around for that, that'll be at the end. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our rope, make a loop, and we're going to slide it up on our arm. Then I'm going to start making some small loops until I get down to the net. Like I said, this is a Betts 10-foot mullet net. It's got 1.3 pounds per foot, 1-inch square mesh. All right, so I'm going to grab it at the horn and come down about 12 inches. So I'm going to be holding it right here, 12 inches from the horn. I'm going to come down again about waist high and grab it again right here. So there's what you got. My net's actually kind of froze right now, so bear with me. I got to get some of the ice off of it. I put it up wet. It's cold. We're going to make sure all our tangles are out. Gonna go through the whole net. These are big heavy nets. The last thing you want to do is get it all loaded and throw it and then realize it's tangled. See, we got one right here. The smallest tangle will completely keep your net from opening, so you want to make sure you get all those out. It doesn't matter how good you are, if the net's tangled, it's not going to open. All right, so we're going to go about halfway down from our hand to our lead line. And we're just going to grab a couple handfuls of lead here. Just like that. We're going to take this under our right arm and throw it over our shoulder. You're going to use the weight of the net to keep it on your shoulder. If you let that go slack, it'll just fall off. Then we're going to come down again between our shoulder and the lead line about halfway. We're going to grab this side of the lead line and start pulling it over our leg. What we're looking for, we want about half the net on one side of our leg and half the net on the other side. And I'm getting muddy, but it's all good. All right, looks like we got it pretty well split there. Then you want to come down halfway between the lead line and your hand again. Grab it with your pinky finger, just like that. And then grab it all with your hand. So there's what you got. You want to let the weight of the net pull that out of your pinky finger. And you don't have to put a lot of effort into this, guys. You don't want to overthrow the net. Just a good smooth throw. You don't want to put a big spin on it or anything. It doesn't take a whole lot of strength to throw the net like this. And like I said, you don't get wore out near as fast because instead of having all the weights in one arm, you know, we got some of it on our back, our shoulder. We got some in this hand, some in this hand. So it's not nearly as heavy. So we just want to spread this out about like that, keeping it on our shoulder, and then just go back a little bit, stand back there and do it. Straight out. Just like that. So one more time from my point of view, we're gonna make a loop, cinch it down, nice even coils all the way down to till we get to the net. Then we want to come down 12 inches from the horn. Roughly 12 inches, doesn't have to be exact. Hold it with our right hand. If you're left-handed, just do everything the opposite way that I'm showing you. Then you want to come down about waist high and grab it again. So there's what you have now. Then you want to pull off about 2 handfuls of lead, about like that. You want to throw that, take that under your arm and over your shoulder, like that. Then you want to come down here. You got both lead lines, one going to the right, one going to the left. We're going to take the one on the left, start throwing Start throwing it over our leg until we get about half of it on one side of our leg and half of it on the other. And I apologize about all the moss and stuff in the net, but I am doing this in a pond just for demonstration purposes. Okay, and then we got this lead line running from our shoulder all the way down here. Get that on the outside, grab it with our pinky finger just like that. And we're gonna come down and grab it with our hand. Now we're ready to throw. It's got a couple downfalls. Now you're gonna get wet, you're gonna need some rain gear to do it. And you don't get a whole lot of distance out of it, like away from the boat or away from the bank. But if you want to throw the net all day, not get wore out, and get a good wide spread, this is going to be a good technique for you. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about different nets for different purposes. First off, I want to say use the biggest net you're allowed to use. I know some states have a size restriction. It's like 5 foot and stuff, but you can still get a, 5 foot net's not just a 5 foot net. You can get a fast sinking 5 foot net with the right size mesh for the bait you're trying to catch, or you can go to Walmart and get a 5 foot net and you can pretty much watch it fall. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the different nets and what you need depending on what size bait you're trying to catch. Now when I was first getting started throwing nets, I'd go to Walmart, I'd get a 6 foot net, and I'd see fish on my fish finders thinking it was bait, which it probably was. I'd throw my net on it. It'd take what felt like 15 minutes to sink, and I'd pull it up and there wouldn't be anything in it. Sometimes I'd try to catch bait all day and never catch anything. And I just thought I was no good at catching bait for the longest time until I learned about the different weights on the net, the different mesh sizes. So I want to explain to you guys what I wish somebody would explain to me back when I was first getting started. And we got 2 different nets here. They're both 10 foot nets, but they're completely different in a few different ways. This net over here is a Betts mullet net. It's got 1 inch mesh. It's made for bigger baits, 6 inches and bigger, Then over here we have an ultra spreader, 1/2 inch mesh, 1 pound per foot. And you can notice there's just a little something different going on right here, and we'll talk about what that is. And this net has like 20 foot of rope. I think this one has 50 foot of rope, and I'll explain that. So first off, you can see the difference in the mesh sizes between these 2 nets. This is 1 inch mesh, this is 1/2 inch mesh. Looks like we got a dead fish in there, but anyways. I didn't know anything about mesh sizes or anything when I first got started, but it makes a huge difference in a couple different ways. For one, the bigger the mesh, the faster your net's gonna sink. You're gonna catch more bait because they don't have as much time to escape out from under the net. The weights on the bottom of the net is another big factor in how fast the net's gonna fall. This net right here is 1.3 pounds per radius foot of weights. This one right here is 1 pound per radius foot. Doesn't sound like much difference, but it's quite a bit of difference when you add 10 foot of that together. This net right here on the left, this mesh size is good for bait 6 inches and bigger. Every fish is shaped a little different, but say we're catching gizzard shad, which is what I'm doing with the net 99% of the time. We're not going to have to deal with all those smaller fish because you can see the mesh size. It's going to let those baby shad out, only keeping the bigger ones that we want to use for bait. There's been times when I threw my net on a big school of shad and it ended up being, 2 or 3 inch shad, and then you catch 1,000 of them in one throw, and then you got to sort through all of them to get 4 or 5 good ones out. So that makes a mess in your boat, and it's just a lot of time wasted. You can get this bigger mesh and won't have to deal with all that. Now this net is 1/2 inch mesh. It's pretty much gonna catch anything down to a minnow, and it's also not gonna fall as fast. The only reason I even had this net is because I got a really good deal on 4 of them, the exact same. And yeah, I don't use it much, but it's kind of a backup net. If I ever need some smaller baits for like, hybrid bass fishing or something like that, this is a net I would throw because you're gonna catch those smaller shad. Now this stuff right here on the bottom of the net, they call this tape. It's not really tape, it's just a material that's, you know, a few inches above the lead line. And what that does, it's gonna keep the net open longer. This is made for deep water, you know, 20 foot and deeper is what this net's designed for. That way the net will stay flatter longer. It's still gonna get the mushroom shape to it after it falls, but just not as much, not as fast. It does seem to slow the net down, you know, on how fast it sinks. The tape does seem to slow it down a little bit, but it does stay open longer. This is probably by far my favorite net though, the Betts mullet net. If you're wanting to catch shad for catfishing or any kind of bigger baits for whatever you may be fishing for, you know, this is my favorite net. They definitely make higher quality nets than this, but for the money, it's just hard to beat these nets. I think they're around $115. I've seen them for $100. That sounds like a lot of money for a net, but you get your money's worth for sure with these. This is a good cheap net is what this is right here. So I'll put a link in the description on where you can get these. You know, I'm not associated with any of these companies, but if you want to check it out, you know, I'll put a link in the description for this Betts net. So I hope this information helped you guys. If you don't get it right on your first try, don't get discouraged. If you get aggravated, go in the house, come back out the next day. I promise you, if you stick with it, this technique will work. I can guarantee you. You just gotta put a little time in and get used to what you need to do. But as far as loading the net, it's absolutely nothing to it. But I want to thank you guys for watching. Good luck, good fishing, and we'll see you guys in the next video.